The president says reaching a deal will be tough. Joining me now to discuss how it could happen, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, Republican from Illinois. Congressman, good morning to you.
Hey, good morning.
Let me start here. I want to look to what's happening next, but first, your opinion. Right call for the president to end this shutdown without getting money for the wall?
Yeah, I think it was the right call. I like what was kind of mentioned on the previous segment. I mean, this is a point for the president. I don't like going into shutdowns. I think shutdowns never work. I think nobody wins because it damages the country. But, when the president relented and said, okay, Nancy, we'll reopen the government for 3 weeks. Let's see if you'll come and negotiate like you promised. I mean, the breathlessness of Trump caved, or before that, it's Trump's unwilling to negotiate. I think let's just all take a deep breath. We can analyze forever who won and who lost. I think we'll know better in 3 weeks. But I think right now, my concern as somebody that looks forward beyond this next political victory or loss is what does this do to the narrative in our country? We have to learn, as Republicans and Democrats, to actually talk to each other again, actually learn the art of compromising like the Constitution itself was. Yeah. And I'm going to be preaching that message as loud as I can among my party and the other party.
So let's talk about the art of compromising, the art of negotiation here, and start with this tweet, actually, guys, from Sarah Sanders, which this is the latest from the White House. In 21 days, President Trump is moving forward, building the wall with or without Democrats. The only outstanding question is whether Democrats want something or not. I mean, the art of compromise, the art of negotiation. Is this the right starting point?
I don't know. Maybe because, frankly, it depends what a emergency declaration would look like in terms of whether it's legal. If it is legal, there have been a lot of emergency declarations before, if that's within the president's authority. I support building a border barrier. I don't think it needs to be sea to shining sea, but I think it's an important part of that. But I do think it's imperative right now for the Democrats to say, look, we've got some things that we want. How can we get the things we want and actually give the president a little of what he wants as well? And, there's a lot of talk about why didn't Republicans do this when we had everything. It's a fair point, except we all know the 60-vote rule in the Senate. And frankly, in 2009, Democrats had 60 votes in the Senate in every level of government, and they didn't handle the dreamer population. So there's a lot of looking back on woulda, coulda, shoulda. We have a 3-week period now where we can be adults, and I guarantee you, Victor, if we come out with something that's a compromise, I think like 70 or 80% of Americans would actually support it.
So let's talk about compromise. About a year ago, when the government was shut down about this time last year, Democrats went to the president hoping that there could be an exchange of $25 billion over 10 years for the wall in exchange for permanent, among other things, permanent protections for DACA recipients, for the Dreamers. You're a Republican. Is there an equation, some collective, some bargain, some compromise that would include permanent protections for DACA recipients that you could support?
Oh, absolutely. I think we need comprehensive immigration reform. We have to be realistic and say we shouldn't, and we can't, even if we wanted to, deport all these people from the United States of America. So how do we put them in a position where they can be productive members of society, live their lives, pledge allegiance to the United States of America, and be great members of society? If we can do that exchange for the wall, I think that's a deal that probably should have been taken. Now I do question, though, honestly, with this new Democratic Party, to be fair, do they have a caucus that would be willing to accept $25 billion for a wall? It's a different party. You have a lot of members that came in on disbanding ICE. So
but do you believe that it could get through the Republican Party? I mean, you're also someone who voted to end the shutdown. But do you believe that the Republican Party could sign on to anything that includes permanent protections for the Dreamers, for DACA recipients in this country?
Yeah, I think you could get a majority of us. Look, you're going to have extremes in both parties that are unwilling to give an inch. And sorry,
even with Ann Coulter on the side whispering into the presidency.
Oh gosh, I'll tell you what. Her tweet yesterday, I sent a tweet back basically saying George H.W. Bush has way more honor than you could have in 10 lifetimes. But yeah, I mean, look, there's going to be some Republicans that follow that, and there's going to be some Democrats that follow the, defund ICE thing. But the question is, can we get a coalition of Republicans and Democrats together? I certainly think we can. I think there's enough Democrats that would take wall funding for the DACA issue, and I think there's enough Republicans that would take DACA for the wall funding.
Congressman, let me ask you about a comparison that you made when talking about the wall a few days ago. We got the soundbite here, and then your tweet, and I want to ask you a question. Here's first what you said.
Also, look, when Nancy Pelosi says a wall is immoral, I mean, we look at that and go, how's a wall immoral? I mean, I have 4 walls around my house, and they keep bad people out and critters out.
They keep bad people out and critters out. You tweeted this: taking my words out of context to spin some outrage clickbait is just pathetic and desperate. And then you said, here's the full interview. I watched that full 10-minute interview with Katie Tur there. What is the proper context for comparing people to critters?
Oh, I didn't compare people to critters. I talked a lot about how people, immigrants, are people in God's image and how we need to fix this problem. And then it was basically posed in terms of walls being old, antiquated technology. And I said, we still use walls. The walls in my house keep people out. And by the way, I live on a field where there's a lot of critters. It also keeps critters out. I'm not comparing immigrants to critters. This is in this era, and even Katie Tur never even said anything on that. It was some outrage, clickbait, Twitter stuff that's going on. And that is our problem now. When you have somebody that can say, hey, we all need to work together, we need to fix a problem, and somebody is looking for a reason, because I said the word critters, I must be comparing immigrants to them, which of course I didn't. To now say, to turn this into a big thing is ridiculous. This is why we aren't talking to each other. Let's all grow up and be adults. If I say something intentionally racist, that's fine. If I just say the word critters and I made no mention of what it has to do with immigrants, I'm talking about literally my house and the walls in my house, let's all relax. And that's the problem we have today, is everybody's looking for a gotcha moment.
Okay, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, thanks so much.
You bet. Take care.